Oh, all right. So I can tell when my hair is changing. I mean, yeah, I've been noticing it kind of falling out a little bit. Like I would put conditioner on my hair and then it would have hair. So I know that my hair is thinner and it has body to it because it's thinner. And I actually like it better than when it was when I was younger. Because when I was younger, I was under a type of programming. And when you're under a type of programming in your 20s, in my 20s, I was fucking hot. Okay? In my 30s, pretty hot. Early 40s, still pretty hot. And then the programming started wearing down, started breaking down. And then that's when people experience disease because your body is evolving. You were programmed to be a certain way based upon your community, your family, your society. And then around the 50s is when the programming starts breaking down. Though some will have the breaking down the program in their 40s, the programming in their 40s, maybe even in their 30s relative to where they're coming from and what kind of predisposed issues. But you have to know that we're in major climate change right now. The roles of women, men, and girls and boys are going to change drastically. And some are not really familiar with the roles of men and women. I mean, they are and they're not. They have the old way of how women and girls and boys and men are supposed to act. And then we have so many different other representations of how they're going to be. But they're still based upon that nuclear type family, the male, female. Even though there's male, male, or female, female, someone takes on a little bit more of the characteristics that would look like some kind of heterogeneous couple. But anyways, and so the main takeaways today is going to be about climate change. And you already saw yesterday what happened with California. And you see the path of that storm carving out the areas they want to be probably uninhabited, potentially even making high-speed rails. There's like 52,000 acres, I think, in the Bay Area, somewhere in the middle, like a Fairfield, over there off the 80, I believe, that they have some unknown buyer bought it all up, and in my opinion, I think it's going to be a high-speed rail. And of course, we know that because the America2050.org, which is now like RPA.org or something, Regional Planning Association, America2050.org was a website that offered you the future, the projected future of how they're going to put humans in their different habitation zones. And they're going to cordon off places to leave room for biodiversity and nature to come back. And so that's why there's all this political land grabs, speculating that it was intentional. Of course, everything's intentional. Humans are intentional. We don't leave things to be organic. There's nothing organic in our world. The fact you have all those fruit trees that are all in a row way back early on in the 1940s and 50s in Silicon Valley says that somebody planted those fruit trees, okay? And then somebody took away those fruit trees and built a bunch of homes. All right, so everything is intentional. Now you have to figure out how you're going to survive this climate change. And it doesn't matter how the climate change, it doesn't matter who, because we're seeing everybody argue about, oh, it is a natural thing that happens a cycle of every 50,000 years or whatever, right? You haven't been around for 50,000 years, so how can you fucking know, right? Another one says, oh, it's all intentional. That's my camp. Everything's intentional. And a lot of people in the conspiracy world know so many things are intentional. Okay, so if you know it's intentional, and you know you've been outsmarted by those who have given you the arguments, you know there's no way you're going to change the blueprint of what's been laid out way before your fucking time, way before your parents' time. Now the agenda's going to go out, it's going to be laid out, and it's going to realize itself, no matter how much you resist, because remember, we're run by the rule of law, governing the conduct of nations, and it's not the law of the jungle, as per George Bush Sr., Herbert Walker Bush Sr. Okay? They already laid this out way before even JFK. JFK was used as a tool. He put out there, oh, there's people out there that are going to be doing this, this, and this. He gave us a little bit of a warning. Why he got assassinated, I couldn't tell you. Everyone speculates. But he finally figured out what was going on. And he also bought into the programming of so many women, so many fembots all around him, whether it was Marilyn Monroe or any other fembot back in the 1960s that was developed to be a plaything for men and women too, okay? It's not just men. And then the development of the feminist that was programmed to be completely sexually free and sexually independent and programming herself for sex to do whatever the men do out there, right? And then when her programming starts breaking down, then finding a family, a husband or a wife. And so you see it now in the Gen Zs and the Gen Ys and the millennials and all that they're acting out their parents' programming. And so yesterday I made an assertion and an analogy and also, the evidence right in your face. The 1960s. That's why these shirts that are found in Walmart, they're all about the 1960s, sexual revolution, all the porn industry, Larry Flint and Hugh Hefner and all the Playboy bunnies and all the feminism, wanting women to take control of their sex life and just do everybody. And then when that goes to the wayside, when that programming wears down, then go and find a family and then legitimize yourself. And then there's a suffering in that because then she's pushing out 50 kids. And so now all of a sudden from being a whore, right, to being a sexually free feminist, now she's a all-loving Madonna mother who has 50 million kids she has to raise, and everyone now all of a sudden respects her. When before, they didn't. That's what women are being bred for. That's the suffering of women. And then the men are just like whatever the woman wants when you think about it. Because women did rule the world. All right? And so we're in climate change. We're discovering how women are getting programmed, how they got programmed back in the 1920s. We have Josephine Baker doing all the stuff that they did back in the 1920s. We're getting naked in front of people. And then all the different women that were so hot in the 1920s and 30s and being used for so many things. There were actors that were like rapists and were misogynists that got away with victimizing the young women back there. We knew kids were being victimized because you saw how Shirley Temple was brought up in Hollywood and what she went through doing those different movies to distract people from the Great Depression, from all the craziness. So they watch these movies and then people are getting programmed to victimize young people, to victimize the opposite sex. It doesn't matter which side. And so that's like the 1930s, 1940s, and you have the 1950s where, okay, everybody's now chaste, whatever, post-World War II. Then you have all the the good girls who were bad girls behind in the back seat of their parents' 1950s Cadillac. And you saw that, American Graffiti and Happy Days and all those different movies that show like the good side of America and the culture, and then the seedier side, and you had the greasers. Okay? And so you saw how that programming was embedded in your parents and your grandparents, and that was the climate of the day. You had the Madonna, the all-loving, wonderful mother who will give her right eye for everything, sacrifice her life for her kids and everybody else. And then you had the whore, the one that was sexually free, the feminist, that was like, hey, we don't need a man, burn the bra, and always be independent. But then if you can't do that, then you have to go get married because you have programming that's breaking down and you don't know how to fucking deal with that. And you still have to work and make money and still live up to your friends and family and your society's expectations of having a 2.5 kids and a car and a picket fence and a nice house and a bunch of associations and all these friends. And so then these women are then forced into these types of slavery situations. It really is. It's slavery. And so are the men because they have to go to work, right? Because that's their friends and fellow. You got to go to work. And that's good. But then you're breeding people to then go to work at the expense of even their own life and their own health and longevity. And so now you're seeing the programming of our society the last 100 years. And now that programming, that climate is changing. It's changing drastically. And people are not prepared for it. They're really not. And they are so resistant to change. And so I said the main takeaway is the role of women and girls and the role of boys and men and the role of climate change. And those two interconnect. That's why there is so much of the sexual revolution and, of course, the LGBTQ community coming up, because that was the alternative to the nuclear family. Having sex without the outcome of actually having a baby. Though you couldn't tell all the heteros not to have a baby, so then this climate change is going to cause people to become pretty infertile. And that's what the projection is in 2045, where they're going to have 0 to none fertility, which means, again, you have to be the most viable, the strongest gene in your genetic line. That's the whole J world, is that you don't have to die someday. You don't have to drop 1 million kids and weaken yourself and then get distracted and giving your lifeblood to these kids that are going to eat you alive. And there goes your whole future, because what are you going to do? Work at Verizon for the rest of your life? For 18 years? Work at Walmart for 18 years so you can support your kid? Because you're not going to be going to school, and if you do go to school, you're getting a lot of babysitters and a lot of nannies if you even can afford that. And so what are these girls? They're single moms that there goes their whole future, because now their whole future is putting all their energy into those kids. And then, of course, everyone supports that because, yes, it's like revere the children, and the mother is the human sacrifice. And so climate change, it just means that there's a change in the weather of your internal environment and your external environment, and of course your economy and the social constructs, the social mores. It doesn't matter how it was changed or who did it or even why, and that's with the weather, okay? You can't stop what's going on with the weather. You really can't. You can't stop a huge freaking machine that's way up there in Alaska, away from most people, all people except for a few need-to-know people. And then you have different amplifiers, and you have the grid. You can't dismantle the infrastructure that is giving us not only faster internet, more of a plasmic type of environment so we can see different virtual images for whatever, but also it keeps tabs on people who are more the vulnerable people in our community. And they might have a phone because their parents gave them a phone. And so if they get lost or someone kidnaps them, at least there's some kind of signal that the community can go and find where that kid is. So there's upsides and downsides to having a surveillance society. Yes, it won't be as private, but I guess, are you private anyways? We put all of our shit all over the internet. How private do you want to be? If you want to be that private, get off the fucking internet. But again, everything is now mostly virtual. And yeah, you can play. I know someone that doesn't even have a laptop. Right now, doesn't have a laptop, doesn't even have a computer, doesn't even have a smartphone. But he's somehow surviving, but he's doing okay. But he's not aware of all the storms out there. Does he have to be? Well, it should prepare you for what may come to your town when you see what happens to other towns. But there are some people that are older than me, 10 years older than me, that don't have the internet, that don't have a smartphone. Okay. And then you'll be the last to know when something happens unless you rely on some siren in your area that didn't even go off in Hawaii. It's going to be very difficult to get away from the social networks. It's going to be very difficult to get away from the internet and World Wide Web, because that's where most, if not all, the information lays within. You can call people. You can play that game in 1995 and call everyone. I call a few people as far as vendors that I work with for myself. But mostly everything is email or text, because I don't answer my phone. I don't ever answer my phone because you never know who the fuck's on the other end. All right. So we're in climate change. All right. Climate change is a very vague reference, which has become very specific to different interest groups. And the people like to argue why climate change has happened as far as the weather. And everyone would be right. Patterns are man-made because man is nature. So just because I acknowledge climate change does not make me a supporter of the government or anything else. I have to live within the confines of the law within my community. I don't like all this change shit. I don't like worrying about people in Southern California. I don't like worrying about anyone like in Florida. I hate looking at all the devastation. I watched that stuff yesterday because there's storm chasers on YouTube that get paid money, by people donating to their campaigns, to their channel, and they're putting themselves in harm's way. But that's what they've been doing as far as meteorology for like 14 years. So now this is their time to rise. But I don't love it. But it's like, holy shit. I hope people that I know in Southern California made out okay. But there's no telling how infrastructure holds up to that kind of weather that they're not used to. And so it does worry me, not that I could do anything about it. I can't save anyone. But then you're seeing the patterns. Not so much the pattern like, okay, when is it going to happen? But you see it will happen at some point. When you look at that Navy map of the projected configuration of the United States, and you see all the coasts, like the whole Navy map is like a light yellow, like a mustard yellow, and then all the coasts, and even somewhere in the left side, in the center of the United States, and in the right side, the center of the United States, there's a lot of brown. That means that is either like a continental divide, not literally, because that's, I mean, well, yeah, maybe. That's the division of that of the part of that continent, North America. Okay, so it could be like a volcano right there that split everything apart. It could be a bunch of water that split that part, that made that huge indentation where it's uninhabitable. Okay, so now you're seeing the patterns that if a hurricane type tropical storm with an earthquake attached to it, a hurricane, right, can happen, happened yesterday. It will happen again, and it might even be worse. That might be just the pre-show. Because it seemed pretty devastating. When you think about it, how much devastation in Palm Springs. I don't know how much devastation in San Diego. I did follow some guy that was tooling around in LA with his little camera on the car doing the live stream. And there was flooding, yeah. But that might be just the tip of the iceberg. That may not even just scratch the fucking surface of what California actually is in for. And all the different coastal communities. And even parts of the inland with all the tornadoes and the rivers that are overflowing its boundaries, like the Mississippi, the Colorado River, you have Yellowstone. I mean, anything can happen. And if somebody wanted to aggravate the volcanoes, they can do that as well. Okay, so now I'm not trying to put fear in you. What I'm trying to tell you is have a game plan ready. You still do your daily life. You still get up, brush your teeth, do whatever you got to do. Do the whole Jilly Juice routine or the J World routine. But remember what's going on and have some kind of game plan ready. Maybe don't invest in so many fucking baubles. Maybe invest in yourself and giving you the ability to move if you need to. Because when one place gets washed out and flooded out, and they say it's deemed uninhabitable, because for whatever reason, do you have the means to relocate? Do you actually have the means to relocate? And where would you relocate? Would you want to wait for the 11th hour when finally it's a huge volcano where something happens so catastrophic, where now everybody, 50,000 people in your community are having to relocate? And they're looking at Ohio, they're looking at Michigan, they're looking at all the different Great Lakes or other places, maybe the Midwest, but I wouldn't want to be in Tornado Alley at all. But people do. People move to actually Tornado Alley intentionally. And so you don't be competing with other people when you're looking to relocate. And it's relatively cheap right now over here in Ohio. My house is like, maybe it's worth $80,000, but we bought it for $50,000. Not that we're going to sell or anything. Yeah, there's equity to do stuff to it. And I'm paying $530 a month for the mortgage compared to someone paying like $3,000 a month for their mortgage in California or anywhere else. But do you really want to be stuck in that situation out there when it becomes even worse? And it's not just California, it's Oregon and it's also Washington. And so just because I acknowledge climate change does not make me a supporter of the government or anything else. I know who and what I'm up against. Some of you don't even know. Some of you claim to know, but you are resisting something that was put into place many years way before your time. Just remember, oh God, here we go. Now I'm going to go into this about the roles of women. Okay. And so I wanted to get that out of the way about as far as climate change. I just did a hard transition and that's okay. We needed to. And so the movies tell you everything. The 1960s told you everything of how women were going to be portrayed and how they were going to be used. And you saw it in Hollywood. You saw Anna Nicole Smith. You see Britney Spears right now going through her own bullshit. You've seen all these girls going through where they're rising up and they're looking hot in their 20s, like the Baywatch girls. And you look at them today, the programming wore down. the programming was breaking down, wore off. And so that's what I've been fighting the last 10 years, was watching my programming break down and suffering through that. So imagine you're 25 years old and you're hot and you have a lot of hair and you're skinny and you know your power. Sex is power to girls nowadays. And then over time, the programming starts breaking down. But see, in this environment, when the programming breaks down, it's not that you just get fat. Like you see a lot of women just get bigger. Oh, it's then the deterioration of their bones. It's the deterioration of their vital organs. It's the hair falling out. That's what these girls are up against. They may be hot today at 25, 30, 20, 15, 16, 12. But I'll tell you, when the environment is the way it is, and they are staying away from processed food, they're staying away from meat, milk, cheese, eggs, and fruits and vegetables because it's all poison to them, then it's not just, okay, they're going to get big, because that might also happen. But their bones are going to deteriorate. And they will be very fragile. And then one day they walk and they break an ankle. Next thing, they break a wrist. Next thing, they break something else. Next thing, there's so much energy. Stuff comes to surface. They want to keep pushing it down. And then when they keep pushing down, it keeps weakening their vital organs. One day they don't survive a heart attack or a stroke. Or they don't wake up. And so remember, what our grandparents were being trained with, were being shown, all the movies of Shirley Temple, the sexualization of girls and boys in the 1930s. And then the 1940s and 50s. Then there's the hippie sexual revolution, where everyone is just like the Charles Manson clan, right? And then you had the Austin Powers that came out in the 90s or 2000s, showing you stuff back in the 1960s. And showing you the music of Nancy Sinatra, these boots are made for walking, and the outfits in some of these movies like Austin Powers, and then showing you subtly, but also in your face, what these women are programmed for. Femme bots. Feminist bots are fucking hot, selling you everything under the sun or somebody's sidekick. So you have these influencers all over Facebook and all the different activists, and there are hot chicks right next to them, hot girls right next to them to keep the influence going. That's how women are being used. Not only as eye candy, but as a sexual slave. Okay? So just remember, all the fembots, the pretty girls selling you diets, selling you supplements and herbs, selling sex and absolution. Look all over your Facebook, the hot chicks. Oh, look, I got a supplement for you. Oh, look, I got a diet for you. Oh, look, I got an exercise regime or a makeup regime. Oh, look, here, have longer eyelashes, bigger freaking lips. Oh, here, have some Botox to thicken your lips. Oh, look, here's these things that you wrap around your stomach so you get a flatter stomach, so you look hot, ready to have sex right there and then. Look at your Facebook. Look at the girls' profile pictures. Look at the chicks showing their tits. That's how these girls have been programmed ever since the 1920s and 30s. And it carried down from fucking generation to generation. And so these girls are being groomed from not only being a wife and a mother, but first she has to be a sex bomb in order to be a wife and a mother. That's what these parents don't realize, what they're training their girls to be. When they're pimping their girls out to go get married, that's like legalized prostitution. That's what goes on. That's what goes on, is that these poor girls are being programmed for not only sex to be somebody's plaything, but then also to be that slavery wife to that man who expects her to act like a chick in the porn industry. That's pretty grim future for these chicks and for these young girls that are growing up when there's nothing really in the community for them to do because the infrastructure is breaking down. We already have enough people to code. We have artificial intelligence to do most of everything. We don't need half the freaking women and men out there that are just being born. To do what? What are you grooming your kids for? If it isn't for something out there that's already being taken over by artificial intelligence, or you're competing against somebody in China who has more discipline in their background. You're competing with someone in India in the higher Brahma echelon groups. You're competing against somebody in fucking Europe, a Northern European who's gone to the best schools, or in England, Oxford, Cambridge. And you're somewhere in the middle of what? Ohio, in the middle of Illinois, in the middle of Missouri, and you have like 5 kids? What the fuck are they going to do? Oh, they're going to be groomed to go into OnlyFans. They're going to be groomed to go into YouTube influencing. They're going to be groomed to go into Facebook and take on an MLM and sell you a bunch of antibiotics. Look at your fucking Facebook. They're all over. The fembots selling you everything under the fucking sun. All antibiotics, all the diets, and the beauty regimes. That's what we were trained for way back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Just remember all the fembots, the pretty girls, selling you diets, selling you supplements and herbs, selling sex and absolution, and they're selling you religion as well. On top of all the antibiotics and the diets and the exercise regimes and the whole pray for me because of this, this, and this, then they're selling you all the different diets and the religion. A lot of women are selling religion on the internet. Because what else are you going to do? There's nothing else. And you're not academically inclined. And you're not willing to do anything different but whatever you were told to do. You're going to sell religion. You're going to sell sex. And you're going to sell antibiotics. Now look at your fucking Facebook. That's proof right there what these girls are being groomed for. And grandmas contribute to that as well because that's what they were raised with. And they taught their daughters who are teaching their daughters. And so what do these granddaughters have left? To be pimped out to some husband who might not even take care of them properly. End up in divorce and they have 5 kids and a single fucking mom. Now look at your Facebook. Look at what we are doing until somebody fucking breaks that cycle. And so just remember, all the fembots are pretty girls selling you diets, selling you supplements and herbs, selling sex and absolution, selling you death. Austin Powers knew. He programmed the fembots. Right? So watch that clip that I posted on my Facebook of those girls shooting the calibers out of their breasts. I mean, that was kind of ridiculous, but you saw what was going on. Those girls were deadly. Beautiful women selling you sex, selling you absolution in this environment today with what's going on, selling you supplements. Deadly, deadly, deadly. I'm not saying bully them. I'm not saying be mean to them. But what I'm saying is that's how they've been programmed. That's how they've been programmed. And then they go into the spirituality, into the occult. Selling you spirituality. Selling you love. Selling you cult mentality. I'm not going to reach most people out there. Some of you are aware. You see what's on your Facebook and you can observe. Doesn't mean you go there and bully them and go and try to troll them. No, don't troll anybody. But I observe, I report, and that's it. I have ways, I release my programming, so I'm not programmed like that anymore. Which kind of like trips out my husband because that's how I came into this programming in a specific way. So with he, and we both evolved and changed and matured on some level. He's still kind of stuck in the old programming, but he realizes I'm not the same fucking woman or girl that I was 10 years ago. And that's what's going to happen in marriages. If you're in a really good marriage, your husband or wife will accept the changes and the evolution of you. I mean, it doesn't mean they love it. But it means that, yes, nobody stays the same, really. Everyone changes and evolves, some more than others. All right? And so I posted something about, are we raising a fembot? And you know you are. Because if you're raising your girl to get married to a guy, you're pimping her out. You're raising a girl to go and hang out with a bunch of girls and go play the games that they play all over Facebook and all over YouTube and whatever. You're raising her to pimp her out, prostitute herself on some level. But then be like, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm not raising my girl like that. So you're raising her to be a spinster, alone, self-sufficient, very independent, learning how to scale down and feed her brain and not want to take part in all the different social crap that's out there. You're teaching her not to drink, not to do drugs, and then you're not even living with her. Because if you live with her, that means that you're teaching her dependency on somebody else. So if you're not teaching her being a spinster, if you're not teaching her how to be self-sufficient and independent and be on her own, living alone, without really relying on any women or men, then you're teaching her how to how to exploit herself for somebody else, whether it's a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a best friend, or a group of people. Oh no, that's so cynical. You have to be around people and interact in group. Okay. I go onto Facebook, I speak my piece. People interact with me, a little bit. Not too much because we don't want to be overstepping boundaries and all that and taxing people with our energy. So what do I go and hang with people for? To go drink? To go party? Well, if you don't drink and you don't really party, and there's nothing that you must do, what do you interact with people? If you're planning something, okay, so you're planning something and you're developing a project, maybe you may go to an office or go to Starbucks or a coffee shop and you write out your plan, your business plan, and you do a business meeting. And then it's very, simple and done. If you're in a partnership, like my husband and I, we're in a partnership. But he's gone most of the time. That's why I'm able to be on my own, because he's gone most of the time. So then you're planning on how to make sure that your finances stay straight, make sure that there's enough money coming in and not too much going out and all that stuff. So then what do you need all the people out there for? Oh, to distract you from the demons that you don't want to face. Because you can't raise somebody else's kid. And if you're not going to be representation of something different, then you're going to support what was taught to our grandmothers and our mothers ever since the 1920s. The flappers. So I said, please don't answer the question. Just consider the information. If you're raising a girl to have a family, you're raising a fembot. That's built into a family. Being a mother, looking for a husband, and you can't look for a husband without sending off aggressive signals. And then the other side of it, are you teaching her to be a spinster and a loner and an independent of other women? Are you teaching her that she can be on her own, live by herself, without a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a best friend? Are you teaching 100% independence from relying on somebody else to feed her needs? Because when you're off of Facebook and you don't have a husband or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or other distractions, imagine how much she can expand her brain, become a better person, more aware of the world, more tolerant, innovative, creative. But no, when you're like, oh, it's all about family, then you're teaching her that she's not good by herself. She has to have somebody else. That was a poster in my sister's room. It says, you're no bunny until some bunny loves you. That's heavy fucking programming. And my sister's room was pink. That's another color programming. My room was yellow. Okay, my room was yellow with yellow blinds, yellow dresser, yellow bedspread. And my sister's room was pink. Pink dresser, pink blinds, pink bedspread. And that's a type of programming. Plus the whole, you're no bunny until some bunny loves you. That's when you're all about family and all about family. You're teaching the girls they are nothing without having a child. They are nothing without having a husband. They are nothing without having a girlfriend. They are nothing without having their group around them. Oh my God, what a revelation, right? That's why I don't want anyone answering these questions, because I know what was built into the family. I know what was built into our society. I know it was built into women and men. And I know the suffering. And I know the denial. Okay? See, I'm transitioning from the old world. I can be on my own. My husband is gone most of the time. Like yesterday, he was gone fishing. And I don't care if he's gone fishing. That's what he likes to do. And he's the predominant breadwinner, which he is. I give him so much latitude. Because if I'm not working a regular job, putting in the hours that he puts in, and I'm allowed to have this kind of latitude to develop my brain, develop my own world, a blueprint of whatever, then I'm going to allow him to do whatever the hell, which means if he's gone most of the time, fuck yeah, let him be gone. Because it will also condition me to be on my own. I mean, I like having meals with him. When I know he's around, when I know he's in the area, I know he's going to come home, I look forward to that. But if I know he's not going to be home for a whole week, and down the road, if it's gone for longer because of different changes, then we'll find a way to build in some kind of social interaction. Not something that I will be dependent on or causing a dependence, but I will develop another way to have social interaction without it compromising my independence. Okay, but this is my conditioning process. Being married to a trucker, oh, it's a conditioning process. Because people are so used to having somebody next to them all the fucking time to distract them. And when you have families, you cannot be on your own because they will expect everything from you and they will suck the life out of you if you let them. And so I'm transitioning from the old world. I can be on my own. My husband's gone most of the time and we still enjoy each other's company. But I can live on my own. I had to transition from being a fembot, relying on other women and men to keep me occupied, to hanging out on my own, developing my own personality, my own world, and my own future, along with the society that I live in. And I write. I develop my brain. I ask myself and the world all the hard questions. I can be by myself. Are you teaching your girls they can be independent? Or are you saving them from being alone? That's why you don't answer any of the questions, because you will out yourself from your defensiveness. Now you see how females can make life and destroy life. Mothers, are you raising fembots? And so someone answered the question. I'm not going to say who it was. I deleted her comment so no one, so I'm not embarrassing her. I learned now, okay, you don't want to confront anyone. I get it. And so I'm getting better at confronting people without actually being in their face, because there are so many people like her. It's not just her. She has so many clones. There are women out there that think they're raising independent women and they're not. They're raising fembots. Because what are you going to do when you die, Mom? Are you showing her how to be 100% independent, or are you showing her how to find the right man? How to balance out the pros and cons of the right man. The right kind of job. All right? And so she said, "Oh, I'm not raising that. It didn't happen in my house." It happened to you, Mom. That's why you're in your own spirituality. All of that cult spirituality of energy healing, all the different stuff that was given the names of all the energy people, that happened in the 1960s. And it carries over into the 80s, the 90s, 2000. And you're seeing all the spiritual people wearing their outfits, showing you that they have all the herbs and extracts and diets and all their spiritual exercises, okay? That was built into you, the whole yoga world. And you have the swamis taking advantage of their cult members sexually. Okay, come on. That was built into the fucking culture, is what were women used for and what men could do to women if the women allowed them to do that. So mothers, are you raising fembots? I bet you are. That is what you were trained to be and do and raise until you wake up. What are you grooming your children for? You will find out many of these children are being groomed to be hot and sexy. And so they will feed into the sex industry because there will be nothing left to do. Remember, artificial intelligence is to take over so many things. So what do these girls have to do? Sell their body, sell their soul, sell you antibiotics, right? And they'll use their feminine wiles to do that, to get into your world, into your bed, and then destroy you systematically through antibiotics, diets, and constant sexual needs. And if they want to make a lot of money, OnlyFans and influencing would be their only option. Because you get a degree doesn't mean the jobs are there. And you are competing against the world. Okay? So just because you have a degree, what are you using that degree? I don't have a fucking degree, but guess what? I developed something called the J World. And developed something called the Jilly Juice. And I don't have a fucking degree. But these girls that have a degree, okay, you have a degree, now what are you going to do? And it's not really glamorous going into what you got a degree for. It's downright fucking drudgery when you're working in the medical, holistic, energy healing world stuff, okay? It's more fun to go hang out with people who look at you and go gaga over your face, your body. When you have to wear nice clothes to work that covers all of your assets, that's not fun. And to go deal with someone who has issues, that's not fun, but it's more fun to use your looks to get all the guys to go gaga. And the different industries love it because you're a representation. You bring in the boys and the girls so they can look at you. That's what you're being used for. But do these girls realize? No, because they've been used, their body is what they predominantly rely on. Not their brain, but their fucking body. Okay, and so hot girls will eventually go into the porn industry or become somebody's wife and live out their life that way. America has been grooming women to be playthings for the men. That's the women's downfall in America, when their body is the only thing they can use to get by, and then they will justify it. That was Hugh Hefner and Larry Flint's claim to fame, grooming girls to be playthings. And then these girls think they're better than everybody else because all the guys are looking at them. And they have so many followers, and they become a slave to the image, and they have something to sell you. They will have something to sell you. Somebody, some MLM, some essential oils, some exercise guru company is going to be like, hey, or selling makeup, selling beauty regimes. Oh, you can be beautiful like me if you use this kind of makeup, if you do this kind of exercise, if you eat this kind of food and do this kind of diet. That's what these girls are being used for. To not only destroy themselves, but to destroy the girls that are following them and also the men who can't seem to keep their seeds in their body. They become a slave to the image, and they will self-destruct, taking men down with them who are losing their seeds to them. That was bred into the population way before the 1960s, using sex as a weapon. And men are very weak to that. If a man is married and he has morals and values, he will stay with the marriage. But a man who is single, when there's so many hot girls all over the YouTube, on Facebook and Instagram, he will get drunk from all the hot girls around him. And the girls are looking for attention and the money, and they will serve their community. That's legalized prostitution. That's what the mothers are grooming their girls to be, because we already have the infrastructure and the innovation. Now we're in the depopulation agenda. That's where you're seeing so many fucking hot girls out there, all over Instagram, all over OnlyFans, all over Facebook. Hot girl was bred into the population as part of the depopulation agenda. Okay? Remember in American Pie and Tara Reid, when that guy said, oh my God, look, Vicky got hot. Over the summer, she developed and she became this thing that all the boys wanted. And now you saw the rabidness of these young men in college who can't seem to keep it fucking together, keep their shit in their pants. That was bred into the 2000s, into the 90s chicks. American Pie, all of those teen movies, Austin Powers. Okay? What is sad is the mothers don't know they were used that way, and they will use their children in that way as well. And so the daughters don't even know what they were groomed for. And so they carry out that programming just like Austin Powers and the girl bots. And I realized, oh, fembots. Oh, that's right. And just because you get a degree doesn't make you any more special. What are you doing with that college degree? Oh, and I'm telling you, when you're going and just doing your 9 to 5 or your 8 to 5 or your first, second, third shift, working with machinery or working with people, there's no glam in that. There's no glamour in that. That's not fun. When you're fucking hot, you're going to be going to different parties, dressing in your outfits, doing the signs and stuff, or working in some place where there's a lot of men, single men, that you can have fun with and play that game until the programming breaks down, or until somebody snatches you up and marries you, and then now you have to push out a few kids because that's the expectation. What's the point of getting married, right, unless you're pushing out a few kids? And so unless you get married to have sex with the same person all the time, or you're married to have a family because that's respectable, those are the choices for these fucking girls out there. That's the choices we're forcing them into. To be a feminist and have sex with everybody, or becoming a wife and have sex with one person, or push out a bunch of kids and then end up being a single mother anyways. Look at your fucking Facebook. Note, I really don't want you to answer the question. This is a rhetorical question. Because would you admit you raised a fembot? I don't want people to become defensive. Their children's lives are proof of how they were raised and their influences in their society. It's not about being upset that's how it ended up. Anytime you marry off your daughter, matchmaking, you are pimping her out. And on the other side of it, are you teaching your daughter to become spinsters? Because that's the other side of it. Are you teaching your daughters it's okay to be alone? It's okay to live by yourself. It's okay to have just her career and no children and no family. Are you teaching your girls you don't need other women to rely on? But what takes the place of a boyfriend or a husband is then a best friend or a girlfriend who she leans on predominantly. Are you teaching her she should die someday? And that's why girls that go into families and they go into all these things, because they don't want to live their 30, 40, or 50 years or however they think they're going to live to be all by themselves. If you're going to be by yourself in the J world, because you can handle being by yourself because you're not trying to get everything done all at once. But when you think that you have a fear of missing out, FOMO, fear of missing out. When you're FOMO, and that's all these 20-year-olds, these teens, 20s, and 30-year-olds, they have all this FOMO, anxiety, fear of missing out. So they can't be alone. They can't be by themselves because they don't expect to fucking live very long. They expect to live to be about maybe less than 100. If they're lucky, they'd be less than 80. If they're lucky, if they don't contract a disease pretty soon, prematurely. And so they're not going to want to do anything that's going to slow down their momentum. I'll tell you, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I had so much momentum and I was just going and going and going and going and going and going and going from one job to another job to this, to that, right, going across the United States, chasing this, chasing that. I was doing so much. And the momentum finally had to slow down, and my PMDD slowed my ass down. And it caused me to have people look at me in a different way because my momentum was gone. I wasn't gone, but it had to be slowed down. But I was riding very aggressively on that programming in my 20s, in my 30s. And then somewhere in my 40s, the programming started to wind down. And wow, that's a demon that these women are facing. And they don't even see it because they're having fun now. But just wait, that programming does not last very long, especially not in this environment, with your mother's and your father's predisposed issues. And so if you're teaching your girl her she should die someday, she ain't gonna fucking sit by herself and chill out and figure out how to release her demons. No, she's gonna try to accomplish everything she can, even if she can't even afford it in her body, to try to get ahead and have some kind of legacy she's gonna leave behind. And so that kind of urgency is built into the girls and the boys out there. And so they don't really future think because they're trying to get so much done as quickly as possibly so they can be a rising star in their generation. But when you realize that you have so much time in the world, if you're not in some third world country or somewhere where it's war-torn like Ukraine, then you have plenty of time to figure out how to release those demons and build back substance so you can then adapt to all the different climate changes and not be taken down by a disease or even a sudden death. But that's the job of the parents to instill that in their kids, that they're not on a short fucking schedule, that they can take the fucking time if you give them that allowance. But remember, parents have 18 years to listen to the government. And so the kids may not be allowed to evolve because the government won't let them go through that kind of process if it's that aggressive. Especially if people get wind that the person's evolving. So that's why I don't want you to answer these questions. You can't win. And this is not about being the mother of the year. Every mother makes fatal mistakes raising her daughters because the system taught her fatal mistakes. Don't answer the question. Just consider the information. But every mother out there, every father out there has been taught fatal mistakes in raising their children. It starts off with the antibiotics and the medicines, and then it ends up with some kind of disease that will then be also treated. And will they have the latitude to release the demons and take on substance? Well, every parent's got to figure out how they're going to do that without the government stopping them. Kid needs food, they need to release, they need to rest. They don't need to keep up with everybody if they don't have to. But that's how these kids have been trained, to keep up with everybody in their class. They can't fall behind. They can go ahead of their friends and family, but they can't fall behind. And when that is instilled and you can't fall behind, then you can't take time off from class to get your life back. And so you become more in deficit, more in deficit, more in deficit. And you hope they survive those deficits they're taking on for 18 fucking years. And so it was the government brainwashing your parents, and your friends brainwashing you. It will be the government and your parents, and your friends giving you a way out without ending in rest and peace. And so it's your friends and family and the government that brainwash you into self-destruct. It will be your friends and family and the government that will give you the opportunity to save yourself. One half of your friends may do that. The other half will find a way to destroy you and bring you down with them. And then you have to discern which ones they are, and you're going to have to make a choice. Because right now with the J world, it's pretty much out there. People know who I am. They've been exposed to this on some level. And they're either going to give their friends and family a choice, or they're going to keep it to themselves and let their friends and family just stay with the programming, the death, which is fine either way. The depopulation agenda is banking on that most people will not give people the opportunity to save themselves. because of fear, the mockery, and all of that. And of course, also the money. When you're selling supplements to people and antibiotics, you ain't give anybody a fucking choice. You'll give yourself the choice, but you will not give your audience the choice at all. Because remember, everything is predicated on the almighty dollar. And so, and even when the government and your parents, your friends and family brainwashing you, they're also trying to set themselves free as well without ending up in rest and peace. And so some are and some are not. What are some are and are not? Some are giving themselves a way out. Some don't even care. They don't care if they end up dead. They have absolutely no intention of staying alive because they already have the policy, religion, science, dogmas that they can justify and fall back on. And it would be readily accepted by everybody. Except you must discern who is giving you a way out without destroying yourself and who is not. And that will be difficult. Most people are trained to self-destruct because they won't change. And so when people save themselves, they also release the old programming. By that very nature, they can't help but represent. You can't hide your life too much from people, especially when you're all relying on people in groups. When you used to go out every single weekend, going to the bars and doing this and doing that, and hanging out with people all the time, and then you end up being a loner, and you want to be a loner because you have to release the demons, and you're feeling sick, and you're feeling this, and so you don't end up going to the bars, you don't end up hanging out with people. You can't hide that. When you're alone, you can hide anything you want because you're alone. No one's around you taking notes and keeping you in line, whatever that is. But when you have built in a surveillance society in your world, your friends, your family, your job, which I understand your job, you do your job and you go home. But when you have so many friends and family around you on your off time, you've built in a surveillance society where you don't have the freedom to fucking move to do anything, much less teach anyone else anything new, because you might lose them. They might turn their back on you if you change. And you know that very well is going to happen with people because the people don't want to change. They don't want their mothers changing. They don't want their fathers changing. They don't want their daughters and sons changing. And so people in their families have built in a surveillance jail. Oh, but it's nice and velvety, nice and comfortable, and it's all about love. But you put yourself in a jail. And there is not going to be any evolution in that family at all. And so people say to themselves, they also release the old programming. By that very nature, they can't help but represent. You can't hide your life too much from people, especially when they know you. It's not fun playing cat and mouse. Okay? So then when you're trying to change, then your friends and family become the enemy, because they will try to actively stop you from changing. So the very nature of change develops an opponent type situation. When you're hiding the J world from your friends and family, when you're hiding your lifestyle from your friends and family, you have now developed a built-in enemy that you have to be very careful around and avoid, because you know they'll be lobbing grenades at you as soon as they get wind that you're trying to change in some way. That's the built-in mutually assured destruction. When you both are dead set on destroying each other through love. And so, this is going to be short, but to the point. I like these short, to the point videos. And so, yeah, after I released that fire demon, and when I released that fire demon, I finally had some peace. No more of that heartburn that was developed from on top of the alcohol, but also so much of that jello. Okay? Which is all basically amino acids. So anyways, so after releasing my demons, the last 7 years developing habits to ensure I do not accumulate any more of them, I see the importance of a nice breakfast. So I had a nice breakfast of oatmeal and cream and brown sugar and bananas. Bananas is alkaline and it has pectin, so help keep things moving. Okay? The sugar it could be like 7, like neutral. And then if you add it to like baking soda and other stuff, then it becomes more acidic than not. So the oatmeal is a little bit more acidic. That's why when you have oatmeal on top of heartburn and you haven't released that heartburn demon, that oatmeal can actually exacerbate it. That's why people get very food intolerant, because I realize now most people are dealing with heartburn, and there are foods that trigger heartburn. That's why I say it's so important to release that heartburn demon out of your body, because then you will not be able to eat certain foods. That's why people get all weird around nightshades and acids. When I finally broke everything down, instead of the food names, because food names have so much baggage, but you break it down to what it's predominantly made up of, acids and alkaline, Then what I do is I make a steak. I made last night a steak for both my husband and I. I didn't eat the whole steak because it's too much for me. But I had also the steamed cabbage and steamed carrots. And I said, okay, my husband, you need to have not only the acid, but you also must have the alkaline. And I hope it makes you shit. Okay? And so before it's like, okay, you eat your vegetables. Okay, we know vegetables are good for you, but what does that mean, good for you? Vitamins, no. It means they're alkaline to help break up the acid so you don't become so acidic and you don't want to become too alkaline or too acid. It's balancing them both out. But before you even do that, you have to release those demons out of your body. You can't play this, oh, I'm going to be balanced in my alkaline and my acids when you have so much acid in your shit and it's not even doing the J juice or even doing a bunch of laxatives. Sometimes the acids are all over your body and your immune system has to go through its processes. You may have so much, like I have chambers in my stomach because I'll go poop, think everything is out, and then a couple of hours later I have to poop and the same stuff comes out. Where the hell did that come from? Oh no, the body stores different types of food in your body relative to what it needs to release based upon the growth that's going on during that time, that day, that hour. And so it'll hold on to food. So you could have a whole bunch of acid that's not really, working to your benefit, but it's working for the demon that's in your body. And just because you pooped or did a bunch of J juice doesn't mean you released that acid. You might have released a lot like we did in the beginning because everyone's ass was burning when we were doing all the waterfalls. But when you finally you do your initial release the demons, initial opening up of your alimentary canal and waking up your immune system, then it's over time when you're pulling out that crap and you're feeding your body and your body's going through an immune response and it's grabbing all the excessive acids in different parts of the body and then carrying them and distributing them to your alimentary canal and to all the different exit points. That's the body allowing to systematically release the demons. Because they're not always in your colon. Yeah, they could be stored there, but it's also all over your body. When you have someone that's so obese, they have so many acids all over the body, the collagen turned into freaking gelatin. So they're all gelatinous. Well, taking out a bunch of shit is not going to take away all that gelatinous out of them. No, it's a systematic fucking process. It happens over time. You have to allow your body to go through those processes of releasing the demons and taking on substance. And it is something that it is a simultaneous process that happens over time. Okay? Me, with my hair the way it is, didn't happen just overnight. It happened over the last 3 years with my hair. As far as my body going through its processes and releasing demons and all the hives and all the different sicknesses and the respiratory stuff and all the loogie stuff and the rashes and the feelings of pain and the headaches, it wasn't just all one day, because if you had all of your symptoms happen in one day, you wouldn't live through that. It's too much energy. You have to be able to take on the substance and release the demons. But you keep developing more demons when you're so stuck in the medical holistic industry. Okay, you may have to do that while you're building up substance, but the more you work against yourself, the less you're going to have the opportunity to save yourself. And that's what some people's issues are. They're so alkaline. They are so alkaline. They cannot possibly even handle taking on more acid. Whether it's meat or milk or cheese, they are so alkaline that they won't be able to survive energy conversion, because you need the acids and you need the reinforcement. And when you're constantly developing demons, with all the supplements and all the different herbs and extracts, developing more acid in the body, more thermodynamics, that's going to cause the body to heat up so much, and you're not releasing really. And it's not about the J juice. It's that eating the acids, eating the meat, the milk. The milk has saved me. The meat has saved me. Okay? You have to build up and then also release. But if you're not converting the gelatin and all the things in your body to turn into collagen and turn into bone density and turn into the adipose tissue to protect your heart, then you're converting that food into something that's going to work against you and not give you the substance to help you adapt to energy conversion. Because you know how important it is to have strong heart muscles? You know how important it is to have strong coughing muscles? You know how important it is to have strong sphincter muscles, whether it's over there on the top of your stomach where it stops the acid from refluxing back into your esophagus? You know how important that is that has to be not relaxed? That's why alcoholics have a lot of heartburn, because that sphincter on top of their stomach that allows the one way in, that gets relaxed, and then all the acids from the body trying to break stuff down comes all the way back up. And that's what I experienced with the heartburn. And so when you're constantly relying on turmeric and ginger and all the different things to stop your heartburn, then you're developing more demons. And you're only managing disease. You're not actually releasing the disease. You're managing disease. That's what the holistic world does. They manage disease. And they make it worse because they develop more demons in the process. And that's where all the fembots out there are selling you everything under the sun. They take on a look of, oh, I'm the all-knowing Gaia goddess, wearing my filmy outfits and my beautiful face and my skinny body. And here's some supplements. Here's a magical herb. Here's a magical concoction. I'm giving you free from pain. I'm giving you life. You know, you see how that persona has carried into all these herbalists out there. That's why the herbalists have a call sign. You can tell them from a mile away. All right? And so after releasing my demons, the last 7 years developing habits to ensure I do not accumulate any more of them, I see the importance of a nice breakfast to refill the energy lost from morning rituals. That way I don't eat so much at lunch and then pass out from fatigue due to the body processing the foods. And so I did a small breakfast, I'll do a small lunch, a small dinner. Not so much small, but it's balanced and it'll be filling enough with both acids and alkaline. And even after having that oatmeal this morning, even with the banana, I still took a little bit of the cabbage. It's already soaked in rice vinegar and sesame oil with some carrots and just ate them. It's food. But I wanted to balance out my alkaline and my acids. Okay? So bananas. Then I looked at all the different foods that I'm eating, which ones are acid and which ones are alkaline. Because that's how you know why it's not just like, look at the ingredients in a processed food and see what you're fucking eating, because you don't even know half the shit that's in there. And it's all basically acid or alkaline, but you can't get through those words because they're so foreign to you. So don't let somebody, the whole reading of the back of the boxes is very misleading. Very misleading. You need the processed food. Just assume that's all acid, okay? But it's good. You need the processed food, and then you need the alkaline. So if you're going to have like a processed food like chicken pot pie that has all these different ingredients that you don't even recognize, and it's not bad, again, it's not poison, it's FDA approved, then make sure you have just a nice little cabbage salad to offset the acid. That's it. Or a nice little carrot salad or kale salad or mustard greens or spinach salad. And so I said bananas, with both acid. Okay, bananas. This low acid or alkaline fruit can help neutralize stomach acid by coating an irritated esophageal lining. And not only are bananas alkaline, they're also rich in pectin. Okay, so pectin is also in some of these ingredients out there in processed foods. It's not poison, okay? But you see all the holistic people are, oh my God, pectin's poison. No, it's something that's needed. Just like soy proteins. It's protein. It's in like processed food. It's in breads. People are like, oh my God, they're so poison. I mean, that's how the holistic people in the holistic industry have starved out their friends and family because they're so fear of food. They don't know what the fuck it is. They don't even know what the hell they need. So all they're eating is like gluten-free everything and carrots and celery, and that's about it, right? And their kids get all this rice, but no potatoes, no breads, no donuts, no anything like that. Reminds me of my fucking childhood. Hold on. Bananas. This low acid or alkaline fruit can help neutralize stomach acid by coating or irritated esophageal lining. So I've been kind of burping, but there's no acid coming up, just so you know. And not only are bananas alkaline, they're also rich in pectin, a soluble fiber that helps keep the food flowing nicely through the digestive tract. And then I looked up oatmeal. Oatmeal's pH value ranges from 6.2 to 6.6. Seemingly, it is a mildly acidic food. However, oatmeals are among the foods that can form acid in your stomach, even with mild acidic level. If you have GERD, which is a type of heartburn or some kind of irritation in the stomach, too much oatmeal can be detrimental. Okay? So yeah, when I had the cream of wheat and I still had that demon inside me, that's why I was burping up all this acid. Not all of it, but a little bit a couple of days ago. And then I did the cabbage, and it just released that demon. So that's why it's so important to my Jilly Juice crowd. It's not just pulling out the crap. I mean, that's one thing, yes. But eat a bunch of cabbage. Eat a bunch of raw cabbage along with your acids. And drink the milk and all that, because lactic acid is milk. Acid, lactic acid, right? Is cream alkaline or acid? Acidic. Cream is acidic when processed, most common and neutral when raw. What is the pH level of cream? Cream has 7.0, which is basically, neutral. When raw. Once digested, then it becomes something else. Okay, so then you get the lactic acid. And when it's processed, like with other foods, yes, because it goes through a type of heating process and it changes its constitution. Brown sugar is slightly acidic, but while white sugar has neutral pH level. So they react with leavening agents differently, like baking soda, baking powder. The biggest takeaway when it comes to picking out which sugar you should use to make your chocolate chip cookies, keep these things in mind. Okay, so nothing is bad out there. Just balance out your acid. You need fatty acid, amino acid. You need your vitamins, the pro-hormones to help with the hormone balance. And you need your minerals. You need your electrolytes. Nothing is fucking poison out there. But if you were like me, just doing too much of the fucking Jell-O on top of a sour stomach from the alcohol, then I was developing so much fucking acid. It was insane. I was throwing up acid. That was that was probably the craziest biochemistry slaughter I did to myself for that couple days. And that was such a learning experience. And sometimes it takes that kind of pain to teach you about how to balance out your acids and your alkaline, but you also have to be on a relatively purified body. Though my body was not very purified after those 3 shots of alcohol. So I can only imagine now if I ate Jell-O it'd be okay, but I'm not really going to. I have my meat, my milk, my cheese, and all that stuff. And I have sherbet, okay, for my dessert. So I get the sweetness. But I had no issue with Jell-O prior to that Saturday. I had a bunch of Jell-O that I got from Walmart in those little cups. But I really went overboard. You saw how much Jell-O I made, okay? All right, so the key thing is when you balance out your acids and your alkaline, you really need to have a mostly purified body. You have to release most of your demons to understand where I'm coming from, or else you are going to exacerbate stuff and you're going to have to pull out stuff. You'll be forced to deal with whatever symptoms of release because you took on oatmeal and you have a sour stomach or a heartburn and it made your heartburn aggravated from the oatmeal. Then it means you have too much acid in your body. You have not, stay from the oatmeal. You have to release the fucking demons. And you need a lot of fucking cabbage. Not so much the fermented chili juice, but you need to eat a bunch of raw cabbage. Or you can cook it down if you want. But that's how you're going to play this game. Because it's a game. Because everyone's biochemistry is so fucking different. But you have to understand the indicators. And you're going to have to do a little bit more than what most people do. Is take your bathroom habits so fucking seriously. Okay? You need to take your bathroom habits so seriously. And some people do, some people don't. But I take them very seriously because I know what's going on. And so, I'm okay with a bigger belly. I'm okay with bigger boobs. I'm okay with the hair that I have. When I was skinny, I was all hair. I was all hair and very little body. That's the sex industry. When you're all hair and very little body. And you're skinny. And then when that programming breaks down yet again, people blow up or then they fight it and they starve themselves even more. This is what these girls are facing. When their programming breaks down, they either just allow it to break down and they become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, or they resist the breaking down of the programming and they take themselves down notches as far as the weaknesses in their vital organs and in their bone density. And so, yeah, they might be skinny at 50, at 40, and their skin looks great because they're using topical shit or taking supplements, but their bone density is weakening. Their heart's weakening. They are developing conditions. It's only a matter of time before those conditions become something they can't come back from. I mean, they could, but they'd have to go and deal with the ugliness of coming back to life again. And it means that things are going to be paunchy here and bigger here and bloated here and pain here and If you have not been conditioned to deal with suffering to live, then you avoid suffering to die until you can't. And then you will welcome the rest and peace. You will welcome the morphine that then will help you slip away silently into the night. Have a good day. Think about what I said. Bye.